Welcome everyone to Last Song Standing. I'm Cole Cuchna.
And I'm Charles Holmes. And in this fourth season of Last Song Standing, Cole and I are debating our way through some of the best albums of the 21st century in order to crown the greatest album of the last 25 years, aka the Last Album Standing.
Last episode, Eminem's Marshall Mathers LP went against Tyler, the Creator's Igor. Ultimately, Eminem came out on top.
Yes, he did. But on today,
your first win of the season.
All right, first of all, it's been rigged for a while. Let's not get into it. All right, let's keep this friendship intact. But on today's episode, we've got two more classic albums going head to head. But first, Cole, how are we feeling about things? Right now on the board, we have Kanye West, My Beautiful Dark Twisted Fantasy, Beyonce's Lemonade, and last but not least, Eminem's Marshall Mathers LP. I'm kind of feeling good about this.
I feel pretty good too. I mean, as much as it is hard for me to stomach Igor losing, I understand why. I think it's kind of balanced right now, and I think today's episode is going to present some more balance, some more genre. I mean, this is our first remote episode of the season. The distance between us is going to come together with my excitement for this episode because I don't know if I've ever been as excited to record an episode as I am for today's episode.
This was the most fun I've ever had prepping for a Last Song Standing. Like two albums that were, I don't know if we knew how amazing they would be paired together, but I literally just even the research for this episode was, I just kept reading and watching documentaries and watching videos.
Same with me. I literally had two back-to-back dreams about Daft Punk last night and the night before. Like I've been just, especially the Daft Punk, and I don't know, let's reveal our albums and then we'll get into it because I'm picking my favorite album of all time, gun to the head. I think Kid A by Radiohead, my selection today is my favorite album of all time. I am so excited to talk about it with you specifically.
And I am picking Daft Punk's Discovery, which is probably the album that as an adult is top 5 I listen to the most and is one of the most impactful albums as a kid. Like I remember where I was when I heard this album and one of the songs for the first time, and it just transformed me and is probably the reason that I became a music critic.
One more time, got me feeling so free. We're gonna celebrate and dance so free.
Before we get too down the rabbit hole of Daft Punk, Radiohead, Cole, let's recap the show premise, the rules, the structure for anybody who might have forgotten.
Yeah, so remember, every episode, Charles and I are going to nominate one album we think should be in contention for the 21st century's best. Each album gets its own half of the episode where we'll make a case for why it's one of the best albums of the last 25 years. Then at the end of the episode, the two albums go head to head, and Charles and I will debate until we can agree on one winner.
The winning album from each episode advances to the season finale, Royal Rumble. That's where Cole and I will face off one last time, eliminating albums one by one until we can crown the greatest album of the 21st century, aka the Last Album Standing. All right, Cole, now that we got all of that out of the way, let's discuss why we paired Discovery with Kid A, because to let the listeners behind the curtain a little bit, we've actually been very, very malleable with this season. I feel like the albums have always kind of been the albums once we settled on it, but we've been doing a little bit of chess moves to figure out thematically, historically, what are the best pairings.
Yeah, I think for this one specifically, I think both of these albums come out early 2000s, right? I mean, Kid A is the year 2000, Daft Punk shortly after. And I think these two albums as a pair can really tell the story of the 21st century and where things kind of giving you definitive markers about where exactly you can point to both of these albums and say, this changed something.
Yeah.
And they're both calling to electronic music, right? Each in their own way. But these are definitive marker points that set the trajectory of music in the 21st century on a whole new path. You know, with Radiohead, which we'll get into probably a little bit more later, you know, they are obviously a rock band that decided to go more an electronic lane. It's funny listening to the Kid A, going back to it. It's not as ambitious or innovative as it probably felt back then, in terms of like, it's not really an electronic album, but it was this rock band that decided to essentially change the trajectory of their own career by abandoning rock music and incorporating more electronic elements. On the other side of this coin, we have Daft Punk, who is a traditional they come from the electronic, kind of the underground scene in France, and really bring it to the forefront in a way that no other duo or artist has since, or back then, certainly. So I think, again, these are definitive marker points. I'd toss the same question to you. What's interesting about these pairings, and what do you see in them symbolically?
Doing more research on both and going back and reading interviews for that time, it's hilarious how both, I would say Tom York specifically, and then Daft Punk were both at this inflection point, not only in their careers, but in popular music, where I think that there was a sense in the early 2000s of where else is there to go in rock music. Tom York had even talked about, after the success of OK Computer, being almost disgusted with the rock mythology and everything that we had been told through the 20th century of like what it means to be a rock and roll star. And I think Daft Punk, in a very, very similar way, this is their second album. They start to crystallize what they are in terms of like coming up with the origin story, the robot heads. But there was still this, in both groups, there's this tension of, people forget, like Daft Punk started in rock and roll as well. They are very, very talented rock musicians. I think their first band, Darling, was the two of them with one of the guitarists, I believe, from Phoenix, another great band. And it's just interesting to see in interviews from that time how both of these artists are almost feeling like trapped in by just classic rock music, and these two albums just blowing the doors wide open. And even some of the reviews that I was reading from that time were not as glowing as you would think they are, especially for Kid A. A lot of them was like, oh.
Well, even Discovery got a 6.4 on Pitchfork.
Yes.
Which is like crazy. They have since, revised the score to a perfect 10, but it does show you, like, we take for granted the sound of Kid A today, and to our modern ears, it doesn't sound, I don't think, like if I played it for a younger generation or even my kids, I don't think they would understand the magnitude of Radiohead going that way. Same with Daft Punk. We kind of take their contributions for granted now. But back then, the reviews are great. I love that they both had mixed reviews at the time, because it just shows you where we were in music and what was acceptable, what was palatable, and how fresh and innovative and forward-thinking these albums truly were, even if our modern ears kind of like, I mean, this Discovery registers as a pop record to me. I was surprised about how poppy it really is. Not to step on too much about Discovery, but let's get into Kid A, because I think we can continue this conversation about a really definitive inflection point in the history of music. So let's start with I'll give you some basic album facts, and then we can continue our conversation. Released on October 2nd, 2000. It's Radiohead's fourth studio album and a huge departure from the previous work in OK Computer. Notably, the album did not produce any official singles. However, it still debuted at number 1 on the US Billboard 200, selling approximately 207,000 copies in its first week. Fans and critics were divided, as we discussed, about the electronic sound, but Kid A is now recognized as one of the best and most influential albums of all time. It was named Best Album of the 2000s by Pitchfork and ranked number 20 on Rolling Stone's 500 Best Albums of All Time list. I think, when we're kind of setting this album up, I think it's two things are important. One, were the expectations placed on Radiohead at this time. We've had 50 years of rock music. As you kind of mentioned, there was a question about where is rock going to go next and who is going to take us there. And Radiohead with OK Computer were crowned as the future of rock music. And they were seen as the kind of the innovators that would usher in a new era of rock music and present a new frontier and these were going to be the leaders that everyone followed. That still remained true, but the direction that they took, specifically after OK Computer, was not the direction anyone was expecting. However, it did influence specifically rock music and how rock musicians approached music. It forever changed that. I can speak to that personally. There is, for me as a musician, there is a before and after Kid A. The band that I was in at the time was an indie rock band, more traditional rock band. As soon as Kid A came out, we were experimenting with piano. We were bringing in samplers. We were having our parents come and play like abstract horns and trumpets all over our album. That was a direct correlation to Kid A, and I am one of millions of white suburban kids that did the same exact thing. So there is a definitive inflection point. And so in rock music and rock musicians, I think you pair that with what Radiohead and specifically Tom York was going through, which informed so much of the sound and approach of Kid A, which was he got essentially like all this weight that dropped on him after OK Computer essentially sent him into like a panic existential kind of crisis about who he was as an artist, where he wanted his music to go. And to your point, he was kind of sick of rock music. He was sick of being crowned the new kind of Kurt Cobain or whatever. And so, well, before I kind of just turn this into a one-man show, continue the conversation about where you see Kid A and the transition point at the turn of the century.
So I think what's interesting about doing this exercise is that I'm a little younger than you. So I came in towards the end of Radiohead's career with In Rainbows, where I think they had kind of fleshed out the latter half of their career in terms of just being a strict rock band to a rock band that is very much known for experimenting with a lot of different instruments. And going back to Kid A, what was interesting is how it literally sounds like a group developing a new way to construct an album where you can, even when you're reading how they made the album, I'm like, oh, electronic, or like how we know how to create a record now was not really prevalent to them, where it's like, of course, the internet is starting to become a thing, but everything is still like, whether you're talking about the synthesizers or the samplers, to have a bunch of people who are going from a genre that is very guitar forward and basically telling them, sometimes there's not going to be guitar on this. Right. Sometimes we are going to just have one clip of a sound, or we are going to have 5 minutes of sounds, and we are going to have to figure out where the song is in this. And right. Then just kind of the ego management that an album like this takes, where it's like, oh, I'm not going to be part of this, or I'm going to have to completely change how I know how to play my instrument, what it means. And this record sounds like that. And yep. That tension, and when that tension breaks and you finally get the harmony, is when this album started to make sense for me. Kid A to me is almost an album where you have to like surrender yourself to the journey. You have to surrender yourself to the abrasive nature of this, where it takes you emotionally. And once you do that, you're like, oh, I understand this. But that is why I do think the mixed reactions in the moment don't actually surprise me, because if yep. You're not used, like our ears, to your point, are used to hearing this. Like Frank Ocean's Blonde is a perfect example of this. It does something similar in R&B, where it's like, if your ears aren't used to something so abstract, where you have horns and then jazz and then synths and then guitars, you're just like, what the fuck? This is the most pretentious bullshit I've ever heard. But yes, Kid A, during doing this exercise, my love for this album just blossomed tenfold.
Yeah, I think your point about the ego is really, I mean, for Radiohead specifically, they were on the edge of breakup after OK Computer, and just what seemed like studio hell for about a year of them just trying, essentially Tom not wanting, like, just forcing the band to be like, I'm not writing. Well, he had writer's block for one thing. Like, he didn't want to pick up a guitar. It made him sick. And so he's basically forcing these 4 other guys to go on this journey with him, which I think, aside from Johnny, I think all three of the other members kind of had reservations about it. And to their credit, like it's kind of like the Beatles and Sgt. Pepper, you know, like Ringo had the famous quote, "I learned how to play chess during that recording session," because it was kind of Paul and John Lennon's thing, you know, and to all the secondary members of Radiohead and the Beatles, to their credit, they adapted. They found ways to contribute, whether that was by reinventing how Ed played guitar, for instance. He became much more atmospheric and really got into effects pedals, and that's how he adapted to the sound. Or whether it was by subtraction, where on a song like Everything in Its Right Place, like only Johnny and Tom are on that song. I think there is one kick drum, but that might be electronic. So technically the other guys aren't even on that song, and that the ego death of that, I think, is so important. And in terms of like, yeah, Kid A would not exist if those members of the band hadn't sacrificed their, you know, it's kind of like recording podcasts. I'm like, Charles, actually, you're kind of just not needed on this episode. Yeah. You know, it's a little bit hard to stomach, right? And to their credit, yeah, and I think, you know, just to paint the picture a little bit more before we get into trivia and categories, there's a kind of great sequence that kind of tells you just how huge Radiohead got after OK Computer almost overnight. So just a month before OK Computer's release, the band played to 400 people at their show in Lisbon. 5 days after OK Computer's release, they were playing to 38,000 people in Dublin. Just a week after that, they headlined Glastonbury, performing in front of nearly 100,000 people. So just the shock of that, like that, you know, for us, maybe like it sounds like a dream come true, which I'm sure it is, but like specifically for Tom, this was a really dark time for him. And Kid A is essentially what came out of the darkness. I think it reinvigorated the band. It set them on a totally new trajectory. And I think historically I think OK Computer was enough to cement them as one of the greatest rock bands ever, that and the Bends. But Kid A puts them in a different echelon in terms of like innovation, really contributing to the history of music in a way that you cannot write a history book about popular music in the 21st century without a Radiohead chapter. And I don't think that happens just with OK Computer. I think it's because of Kid A, it's because of Amnesiac, it's because of eventually In Rainbows. And I guess, I don't know if we want to talk about like why Kid A over In Rainbows. But I think for me, at least, it's all the historical stuff that we're talking about. We could point to Kid A and have this conversation that we're having about the history of music through this record in a way that I don't think we can with In Rainbows.
I think In Rainbows is the more enjoyable listen for me, but to your point, the more ambitious genre defining and defying record is Kid A. Like this is a record where I was just like, oh, okay, yeah, this is you. To your point, with this Discovery, you can point to the moment that it dropped, and you're like, okay, nothing ever was the same. And I can point to almost the best and most important music of the 21st century being indebted to both of these albums in a way where In Rainbows is not that.
And I would say the same. It's a parallel analogy to me with Discovery versus Random Access Memories. Both In Rainbows and Random Access Memories are capstones on the careers of these great historical musical geniuses. They are specifically to their career. But I think both Discovery and Kid A contributed more to the history of music in terms of like influence and a specific moment in time. And symbolically, I love the fact that they're both came out in 2000 and 2001. The music nerd in me just loves, like, it's the literal turn of the century. We get these two century defining albums. And again, it's like you could all trace it all back here perfectly.
All right. So are we ready for some trivia? I have two questions for you. I tried to keep them on the easy side since I was attacked by our good friend Justin.
You did good last time.
Justin,
you did good.
What's up?
I brought an impartial judge with me today.
Our girl Trina?
Yeah. She's here.
Trina was barking at me earlier.
Look, man.
She's got good senses. Yeah,
she was like, "Oh no, he's coming in here with some bullshit takes." I'm not allowing that to happen on my watch. But no, Trina's here with us, and she's going to be the ultimate arbiter of whether these questions are fair or not.
Oh, so cute.
All right, so my first question.
Okay.
How to Disappear Completely was inspired by a dream where Tom York had before the band performed in Dublin. According to York, he was running naked from a tidal wave. Can you name the river he was running next to in his dream?
I can do that quite easily,
God
Charles.
damn.
It's the Liffey River.
All right. You know what? I want to throw you a softball. You got that one right. My next question, I know you're going to get this one right, but I thought it was interesting.
Okay.
Idiotech samples 1976's Emile d'un Lys by Paul Lansky. In an essay discussing the song being sampled, what famous chord did Lansky say inspired his classical computer piece?
Oh, I love that I'm going to talk about this. It's the Tristan chord by Richard
Hell
Wagner.
yes. Can you tell our people what the Tristan chord is?
Well, let me save it because I'm going to nominate Idiotech, spoiler alert. And so I'll save the analysis.
All right, save the analysis. See, these were things that
2 for 2, baby.
All right, there was not a lot. Every single time I read something, I'm like, he knows this. He fucking knows this. But those
are good questions. Those are good questions, though. If I wasn't such a Radiohead nerd.
You got 2 on the board. With that being said, do you want to get into the categories?
This was really hard for me, but yes, let's go into the categories.
For each album this season, if y'all haven't forgot, we have 5 categories. Biggest song, best song, worst song, best deep cut, and best moment. And then at the end of the episode, these 5 categories from each album will go head to head in order to determine which album wins the episode and earns a spot in the season finale Royal Rumble. Up first is the biggest song. Where are you going?
Biggest song? I mean, it's actually quite easy because you just look at the streams and it's pretty clear. It's everything in its right place. Arguably, it might be the best song, but I love that it's biggest, so I can nominate another best song. This song is, oh my God, the intro of this song, talk about one of the most iconic riffs in music history. That opening piano riff played on the Prophet synthesizer is just like, it's like, for me, in my mind, it's like, that's the moment Bob Dylan goes electric. This is the first thing people heard post OK Computer, one of the most anticipated albums of all time. They push play, they hear this fucking otherworldly synthesizer and these beautiful piano chords playing in 10/4 time, and it's just like people back then are like, what is this? It's, famously Bob Dylan goes from a folk acoustic guitar, and at the Newport Music Festival in 1965, he plugs in an electric guitar and people go crazy. He's being called Judas. People are booing, and it's like, it's the same. That, to me, the opening piano or Prophet synthesizer in this song is like, it's the score to the opening of the music documentary on the 21st century music. It's like, this is the opening moment of the entire century to me. Am I being too hyperbolic here?
Yes, because I still have my album to discuss. But keep cooking, keep going. Is this your favorite song off the album?
Probably.
Really?
Probably. Yeah.
Because I know you already know what mine is, but I like this song as well.
Okay, you do. So yeah, just tell me about it personally.
This to me was a difficult song to get into.
Okay.
And then when I think I watched like this documentary that Tom York had discussing the song, and it kind of just opened it up for me, to your point, in terms of just like, weirdly stepping on my stuff, like Daft Punk had talked about how like One More Time was a bridge between Homework and Discovery. And to your point, this song to me is like a bridge between OK Computer and Kid A. And that's what I love about the symmetry of this, to hear the artist even in the moment, knowing that they needed a track to give us the bridge, because I'm like, we forget this is the dawn of the internet, but there's not social media. There's not all of these things that we have to be like, oh, Tyler, the Creator, is going in a different route. We know that usually by the time they release like the album cover. This, you're just like, oh, things are moving more slowly. So it gave me a better appreciation for the song because I was listening to both OK Computer and Kid A kind of at the same time. So I could take myself back to the moment and be like, all right, how jarring of an experience was this when you first hit play?
Yeah, and it was like, to bring up the skeleton key, I think we're going to try to say that in every episode. But this was literally the skeleton key for Radiohead was this song. This was I think it was the first song they completed for the album. And it ended up being like a huge turning point for them, all the band members kind of understanding, okay, we can do this. We can actually complete a song after all, like a year of sketches and false starts and creative differences. Like everyone in the band loved this song, even if they weren't playing on it. And so it ended up becoming kind of the window into like this whole world that they end up creating with Kid A. I think what's interesting too about we kind of take for granted that it's a piano that is just, it's essentially just Tom and piano and electronic effects for the most part on this song. Tom wasn't a piano player at this time, like he was a guitar guy and he barely knew how to play piano, he says, and he bought his first piano in between OK Computer and Kid A, and this was the first thing he wrote on his new piano. And he said that he would just sit there and play this opening riff that we hear on at the start of the song over and over and over. It was kind of like this meditative thing for him. And I that meditative quality really translates to me in the song because it does kind of hypnotize you and it perfectly sets the tone of the entire record. It opens up the world we step into. We hear the iconic Kid A kind of voice effects over the piano. And then, it's funny, again, like looking back at this monumental, innovative record and realizing just how many of these songs are still kind of just the foundation of them are still singer-songwriter songs. Like everything in its right place for how odd it is in terms of time signatures and like not really having a tonal center in a traditional way. Like it has all the Radiohead, like cool music nerd shit that I love. But when you break it down, it's like there's still kind of a verse, there's still kind of a chorus, like you could still sing along to it. And I think that's what like electronic people, like real, like Aphex Twin famously kind of shit on Kid A. Aphex Twin being a much more traditional electronic artist, and kind of seeing the credit that Kid A was getting, he was kind of like, what's so special about it? I don't get it. Anyone could be doing this. Because to him, to someone that has a true mastery of electronic music, like he's looking at this and being like, what's the big deal? But these guys were all new at all of this. So this is like kids being introduced to a new toy shop and trying to figure out how all the toys work. Tom barely knows how to play piano. Johnny's kind of experimenting with all these weird synthesizers. And again, it all kind of coalesces into this moment, into this song that again is the skeleton key to the entire thing. Not only, I think, for listeners in terms of setting the tone in the entire record, but also for the band. So
I also think what's genius about it is Tom basically opening with, which is essentially, to your point, like piano, like a singer-songwriter piano. He's not good at it. But what I think it does, even subconsciously for the listener, is like at this time, I think electronic music for a lot of people is not cool. We are still in terms of this point in music criticism, rock is the center. That is still how we understand popular music. And for Tom to basically be like, I'm going to present you with something that's a little bit different, that has electronic elements, jazz elements, horns and all this stuff. But before we get to that, the foundation of this is going to be a man and a piano. I think the caveman in us, can understand that, where we're just like, it says to a rock audience, even if they don't know it in the moment, no, not only is electronic music, but I can prove it to you in one of the most, when we think of like, what is just like the center of music a lot, I'm like, it's a man at a piano. Like that's like you know what I mean? Right. If you want to just break it down like that. So that's biggest song. What do you have for best song? If you don't pick the song that I want you to pick, I'm going to be very mad.
There's kind of just one clear best song to me.
What is it?
It's How to Disappear Completely.
And I'm not here. This isn't happening.
No. All right.
I know it's not your pick. Idiotech will be talked about, Charles, in another category. So it's okay.
Okay.
How do you not like that? You don't like How to Disappear Completely? It's one of the most beautiful songs I've ever heard.
Oh, no. I really like this song, actually.
Okay.
I really like this song. And what I will say is I relate to this song as a human.
Yeah.
So much. But I don't want to snap. Well, I will talk about that later. I want you to go big on this.
Yeah, it's hard to know where to start. I mean, it does contextualize what a lot of Tom was going through at the time in terms of like the theme of the song is about alienation. It is about this mantra that he was saying to himself. The singer of REM gave him advice in terms of like Tom looking to the singer of REM. What's his? I'm blanking on his name. Is it Michael Stipe? Is his name? Yeah. Tom kind of going to him for advice after kind of panicking about the newfound fame and the magnitude of everything after OK Computer. Stipe tells him, go into your hotel room and kind of repeat in your mind, I'm not here, this isn't happening. And so that's the mantra of the song. And just to read a quote about the song, Tom said this, quote, "The song is about the whole period of that time after OK Computer was happening. We did the Glastonbury Festival and this thing in Ireland. Something snapped in me. I just said, that's it, I can't take it anymore. And more than a year later, we were still on the road." So he's already panicking, and he has, I forgot exactly how many shows they played in 2 years. It was something over like 500 shows in 2 years, which is just like insane.
And he's even been real. He's like, we weren't playing well. Like that was the thing. Right. As they're getting bigger and bigger and bigger, they're like, we're playing like fucking shit. I don't want to be here.
Yeah. And so he's basically said, I didn't have time to address things. The lyrics came from something Michael Stipe from REM said to me. I rang him and said, I cannot cope with this. And he said, pull the shutters down and keep saying, I'm not here. This isn't happening. And so what I love about Radiohead, I think they're one of the best, if not the best bands to score the emotional and thematic subject of the song. So the song is about alienation. It's about disassociation, it's about isolation, and all of that is reflected in the music. And the text is heightened so beautifully and emotionally impactful with the score, essentially. And so this song starts with these really haunting strings. And I would say this is kind of a crystallizing moment in Johnny Greenwood's career as a composer. I think when we think about Johnny Greenwood now, we think about not only the guitars from Radiohead, but we think about him as a legit composer who composes film score, but also standalone traditional contemporary classical pieces. And I think you can kind of trace it back to this song. This is the first song he scored, and it opens beautifully and hauntingly with these strings. What's really cool about this, I'm going to try to keep my technical musical nerd shit to a minimum, but there is essentially a what's called a half sharp being played, which is a note in between your traditional sharp or flat. Which essentially means it's just think of it as out of tune. And that's what gives it that distant, eerie quality. And that sustains throughout the entire first half of the song. On top of that, you get Tom's more traditional, kind of just straightforward guitar strums. And then when the bass comes in, the bass is playing in a counter rhythm to the guitar player, to the acoustic guitar. And so you get this kind of rhythmic dissonance between the guitar, the acoustic guitar, and the bass guitar, and you have these haunting strings. And so it's just setting, each instrument is disassociated from one another in the same way that Tom is singing about feeling disassociated from the experiences around him. And so when he comes in and starts to sing about floating down the river, we feel like we're floating. And it's technically we kind of are because all the disassociation happening in the music. And so, that's just a small example of just Radiohead being so brilliant at what is the heart of this song? What is the emotional heart of this song? And how do we accentuate it? How do we make it an experience that you kind of, to your, it sounds like you have a personal connection to this song. And I think a lot of that has to do with the way they're, not only Tom is just the lyrics he's singing and the melody and what he's actually singing about, it's also equally important how that emotional depth of the music, of the lyrics is being communicated through the music itself. But before I go to my next kind of moment in the song, I wanted to point out, I'm definitely curious to know what your connection to this song is.
Hearing Tom talk about this moment in his career reminded me of like what the music press was like at this time, where we are at the dawn of the internet, but we are at the height of music news in terms of MTV, BET, VH1, UK press. And when you think about how much they had to tour, how many interviews they had to do, there was one interview there that I was watching where you can see how tense Tom is at just the fact of how many people are asking if the group was going to break up, and him telling the group like, yo, don't talk about that. Like, he's very much like, I don't want to talk about this. And why I really connected with this song is it reminded me that like none of this is normal, that fame is normal. Right. And especially Radiohead, you have to think about it. Tom's feeling like this before the social media age. He's feeling this way when people still tuned into TRL, when people still were just like, I'm watching music videos on my TV. Oh my God, Radiohead is the biggest band of all time. And to know that when he's talking about the mythology of rock music and how much this is what you're supposed to want. You're supposed to want the tours. You're supposed to want the groupies. This is everything you work for. And this talented guy being like, I can't take it, I think is such a human emotion. And to turn it into this type of song where I'm like, now that's all popular music is now. Now popular music is fame songs, whatever. But this to me is a little less navel-gazy and a lot more, to your point, they are scoring that feeling of like being adrift on a river and in the tsunami and not knowing how to hold on and realizing that the thing that you worked for your whole life isn't actually what it was cracked up to be, is something that is just so universal.
Yeah, and before we move on, I just got to point out, probably like if this were a podcast about my favorite or the best musical moments of the 21st century, I think this part of the song I'm about to play is that. So as I played the intro, things start kind of low and murky. When Tom does come in singing, he's singing in his lower register. And over the course of this 6-minute song, things just build and build and build and build. And there's just kind of this melancholy that kind of just clouds over the entire song until this moment that I'm about to play. So it's going to start with an excerpt where kind of the melancholy aspect of the song really comes to a climax. And then we're going to hear a switch to a major chord. And it's kind of this like bright light that kind of shines through the clouds for a second. And then I'll play that part, and then I'll set up the next part of the song because it's so cool what they do. So let's hear this part that I just set up. I'm going to stop it right there. So did you feel that like things kind of opened up and got brighter there? And so it's kind of setting you up to like for things to resolve, maybe finally things resolving a little bit more lighter. And it kind of does, it resolved into a minor chord. It's a deceptive cadence, but it still resolves. But tonally it resolves. But then listen, at the moment you feel like things should resolve, listen to what Johnny now does with the string arrangement. He has the string players essentially playing all these glissandos on the strings, which give it this like weird microtonal, essentially the moment we think things are going to resolve, it actually disassociates even more. So listen to that disassociation right now. So more tension at the moment we thought there was going to be resolution, we get actually even more tension. Do you feel that dissociation in the strings?
Yeah, if it felt like it was blooming, like listening to it is almost like someone wringing a towel even tighter and tighter and tighter.
Right.
It's at the moment where you thought, oh, we can finally relax.
Yeah. Okay. So then that makes what comes next like you fucking euphoric. So after all this tension, after we things resolve, more tension, that same chord comes back and it's even more euphoric, more kind of bright. So let's listen to a little bit more of that tension and then again, watch how things open up. Like some of the best music I've ever heard. It brings me to tears almost every time I'm like getting emotional. Just listen to it right now. Like, oh, it's so beautiful. The ascending strings. It's like, oh, it's so gorgeous. Okay.
I love this. Keep going. I feel bad because our next category is worst song, and I feel like this is gonna really hurt you.
This is gonna be like a 3-hour episode if I don't control myself. So let's move on. I'm glad you liked the song. I was slightly fearful you're going to come in and shit on one of my favorite songs of all time. Okay, so worst song, what are we doing with this category? It shouldn't exist in this album or Discovery, but if forced to choose, I'm going with In Limbo. To say any much more than just that's my least favorite song on the album. I still like it. I still think like kind of like Lemonade, plucking any song off of this, like I could have picked one of the interludes, but everything has a function, like it all flows. It's like if you take in Limbo out of this record, it kind of doesn't work as well. So I don't know, like that's my least favorite song. I don't know if you had a least favorite song, but we don't have to spend too much.
I'm gonna be honest, I am gonna do the same thing for Discovery, where I was like, when I was picking, I'm like, I feel like an asshole even like putting any song in this. I was just like, no, I'm not. I'm going to say the song. I'm going to be like, it's my least favorite one. It is not bad because to your point, it's just like, these are two perfect albums where it's just like, it's like pointing to like a perfect Renaissance painting and being like, it needs one less. I'm like, all right, no, like fucking move on. So, all right, deep cut though.
Okay, deep cut. I'm kind of cheating. I'm going Idiotech.
This is not a deep cut. Justin, can you tell him this is not a deep cut at all? This is the best song on the album.
How is this a deep cut, Cole? It is like one of the 3 most famous songs on this record, is it not?
But there's technically no singles on this album, so I felt like I could just pick whatever I wanted.
So I couldn't pick Aerodynamic for deep cut, but you can pick Idiot. All right, fine.
Trina's resting right now, so I can't pull her into this. If an album doesn't have singles, then what is the deep? Is that the only requirement that it is not a single?
This is shameful.
I 100% cheated. I'm sorry. This is my favorite album of all time. I don't give a fuck. I cheated.
This should have been the best. This should have been the best song. This is a top 5 song of the 21st century. I love Idiotech so much. Okay.
If we get to the head-to-head and you feel like it's unfair, I'll pick another more traditional deep cut.
All right, but just go cook.
We have to talk about Idiotech. This drum beat is it's probably my favorite drum beat of all time. I don't know, that might be actually no, this is my favorite. I'm allowed to like what I want. This drum beat is fucking phenomenal. You must agree, Charles, right?
I sent y'all I was listening to this. I'm like, I have to text someone. I vibe it. And when I tell you, when I was doing research for this, there were days where this was the only thing I listened to. Like I just would put it on repeat, do the dishes, go. I just could not. That is how infectious. This is the type of Radiohead shit that sends me up a wall. I love this song.
Yeah, it's like let's put it up on the screen now. But Johnny essentially made these drums from scratch on this like crazy analog modular synthesizer. It's like the size of a wall. And it's, what's impressive that they got sounds like this, like on their first attempt, essentially. Like they weren't experimenting with drum machine. I'm trying to think if they had a drum machine. They might have had some flourishes on OK Computer, but I mean, Kid A is the first time they're really steeping themselves into electronic drums, and to produce drums that sound this good on your first at bat is fucking crazy. Like these drums are so good. I mean, the story behind them is that they try to produce them as if they were being played so loud at a club that the speakers were blowing out. So that's like kind of the distortion that you hear was trying to create that effect. And just the pattern of the drums is just like, it's one of like, Daft Punk is just one of the best at creating loops that you just literally want to hear forever. And Idiotech's drums, the drum loop of Idiotech to me is just one that I just never wanted to end. On top of that, you get this, to your trivia point, this sample of, and what I love about this song symbolically is that it kind of contains the history of music in it, because they sample one of the very, very, very first electronic pieces of music composed by Paul Lansky in 1973. And it's part of this longer, I think 5 or 6 minute piece. We'll play the sample here. Really primitive early computer music that was made on this early IBM computer that only had 1 megabyte of storage, and that they fed the how they programmed the sounds was like cardboard sheets that they would feed the computer with holes in it. And that's how they would, like, I don't know how it works, but that's how they would program the sounds that you hear. And the whole piece that Paul Lansky wrote that Radiohead sampled is essentially experimentation on the Tristan chord, which is in music history. When I went to college, we talked about this chord a lot. It's like, again, Richard Wagner's coming up on, I think, every episode of this music and of this season. And Richard Wagner is the most important composer of the 20th century. So to me, it's very symbolic that the Tristan chord comes up on kind of that inflection point of the 21st century that is being played on a primitive electronic classical piece that is then sampled, and a piece that then would go on to influence the next generation, next century of electronic music. And so I love the symbolism of the sample that we get on the top of the drums. And then, of course, Tom's voice is otherworldly. He's singing about, I'm not quite sure what he's singing about. It's like about the Ice Age, about protecting the women and children first. It's like, there's not really a story, but it's like you get the overwhelming feeling of anxiety and panic. And like, it reminds me of Y2K and the panic around that. So
I mean,
again,
if I could go my Mr. like culture brain, part of this, even if I don't think Tom was like thinking about this, what I think the lyrics actually capture is the fact that the kids were not okay. Like Tom was not okay. And like, right. He's kind of locating something that was happening, I think, in popular culture, where it's like, okay, not only is the 24 news cycle now a thing, it's the only thing. It is warping our brains. Everything about culture, all of the inputs are, and that's what, to me, a lot of this record sounds like. It's so many inputs. We are finally at the dawn of the internet. Almost all of information at one point, like, is available to us. And sometimes I think because that's just the world we're living in, we're like, that's normal. I'm like, actually, it's not. And to have a song, to your point, that is like bridging the gap between 20th century, 21st century, talking about like the Ice Age and save the women and children, like, that's deep to me. Even if it's a little bit more abstract. When I'm listening to the song, that's what it sounds like to me. It sounds like someone, like a canary in the coal mine at the beginning of the 2000s being like, hey, yo, y'all are not ready for what is coming. You are all about to feel like Tom York very, very soon.
Yeah, exactly. And it's like, again, to to their credit about scoring the theme and the heart of the song. Like, again, you feel the sense of panic and the frenetic energy of the music itself is accentuating that feeling that he's singing about in the lyrics.
All right, what's the best moment?
Okay, best moment, a little bit harder with these records, right? Because it's like not everything's as documented as it is today. Specifically with Kid A, like they made it a point not to do any press, not to do any interviews. There's a lot of great lore around the record in terms of like they were sending for pre-listens of the album to the record label. They would essentially get all the executives on a bus and they would play the album from start to finish on the bus, and then they would have to leave the bus. So they weren't distributing like the record beforehand. I think this is the album where they also distributed it on cassette tape that was glued into the cassette player. So you couldn't fast forward. You have to play it from beginning to end. But in terms of like moment, at least for me, the one that I think would at least has some kind of national or global impact, or like at least a moment that a lot of people could remember, that is documented, is the performance of National Anthem on Saturday Night Live, which is one of my favorite pieces of just the open. I don't know if you watched the whole thing, Charles, but like they open on a shot of Johnny like hunched over this AM/FM radio like he's some like prehistoric alien, and he's like twisting the knobs on this AM/FM radio that he's sampling in real time, and then he like a couple of moments later he's playing the Owens Martineau, this weird keyboard with the slider control. Tom's going crazy, and it's like National Anthem is another great song on,
I was mad that you didn't. This is like National Anthem is my second favorite song off this record after Idiotech. I was like, when we gonna talk about it?
This is how I snuck it in, because not only is it a great song, but like live, you could see all the parts coming to life. So you see them, they brought on a 6-piece horn section that plays all the abstract, like Charles Mingus, like free jazz horns that you hear. And Tom's jumping up and down. That's how he cued, apparently that's how he cued them in the studio when he wanted to play. Tom would jump up and down, and apparently he jumped so high and so crazily that he broke his ankle recording the National Anthem. But you see a piece of that in the SNL performance, him jumping up and down. And I just love the fact that it's like, okay, again, historically, coming off OK Computer being revolutionary and experimental in its own right, but it still has hits like Karma Police. It still has No Surprises. It has all these songs you can really singer-songwriter, like great melodies, great hooks. And then that same band, less than a couple years later, come on this national stage, giving us this fucking crazy, outlandish performance. It's just like, it's such a moment to me. I don't know. What'd you feel when you were watching it?
I mean, it was funny where it was like, I knew what you wanted me to watch because you had sent a Reddit link, and I was like, I'll watch it on YouTube, and I could not find it on YouTube. So I had to go back to Reddit. And great, like phenomenal performance. Fucking York is like, he is fucking going for it. He's just losing his mind. I was also just like, can you imagine being in the audience being like, yo, what the fuck is happening right now? Exactly. I thought what I love about both bands, Radiohead and Daft Punk, is I would argue that their live performances almost beat out the recording in terms of just like understanding what they were going for and capturing that energy. Like, I already love National Anthem as a song, but seeing this performance made me love it 10 times more. It was like, I was like, oh shit, because I had never watched this performance before. It was amazing. It was so good.
Yeah, to their credit too, they adapted all these songs live so great. Like they have a live record after Amnesiac that's really good. Daft Punk has a great live record. It made me miss live records because they adapted all these songs for live performance where all the band would play. So they figured out a way to arrange them. Yeah. And so National Anthem is one where it gets so climactic. Even Idiotech with the layered drums of like Johnny's playing those electronic drums, but then the real drummer comes over them, and it's just like, it's so good. Are we already done with Kid A? I feel like we must have been talking for over an hour. It feels like
Here's the thing. I wasn't gonna, this was your episode because I think a lot of the listeners have also been like, oh, with this exercise, will you guys be able to discuss other genres? And I'm just like, let my boy Cole cook. Because I've never seen you smile. I've seen you talk about Kendrick. I haven't seen you smiling like this though. Radiohead means something to you.
It really does. I mean, it's like, because as much as I love Kendrick, it came out when I was older, you know,
Yeah.
like this came out at the my neurons were still like adapting, you know, it's like, this is like, you cut me open and like, this is in my blood, man. Like this album in a way that you can't, like a Tip of a Butterfly, as brilliant as that is, it just came out. I was too old when it came out. It's just, just can't affect you in the same way as music when you're in your young 20s, man. It's just like, there's something about it. I was actually going to ask you, before we move on to Daft Punk, do you have an album like Kid A? Like what is, you see the excitement, you see how it is in my blood. Like, do you have that record?
Discovery is one of them, actually.
Oh, really? Okay.
And Kanye West College Dropout was one. That was like, I remember where I was begging my parents for it. I can remember every, like, the things that I actually miss is like, I miss liner notes. Like I had the liner notes to some of these records where I would just like open and just like study it and judge the art. It was that College Dropout is probably the one. And then when I was a teenager, a little bit older, I think I was like, I want to say college. Young Thug was that for me. Young Thug was a rapper where I was just like, I remember hating him. I remember hating you. I was like, what the fuck is this? And then literally within the course of 2 or 3 weeks, I was like, this is the future of music. And if anybody ever tells me different, I will kill them.
Guys, when are we doing the Young Thug last song standing? Cole.
That might need to be you and Justin season, and I'll be the producer on that one.
All right. Well, you're. I don't want to spoil my cultural exchange later, but are we ready to dip into some Daft Punk?
I'm so excited. Yes, let's do it. Let's take a quick break. We'll come back. Daft Punk's Discovery.
All right. We are back discussing one of my favorite projects of all time, Daft Punk's sophomore album, Discovery, released on March 12th, 2001. The 14-song project was held by Tomas and Guy Manuel, with help from Romanthony, New Jersey native, DJ Sneak, and Todd Edwards, also a New Jersey native. So for any of y'all out there, New Jersey, my home state, we fucking doing this shit. Discovery spawned 6 singles: One More Time, Aerodynamic, Digital Love, Harder, Better, Faster, Stronger, Face to Face, and Something About Us. The album, surprisingly, was only nominated for 2 awards at the 44th Annual Grammys: Best Dance Recording for One More Time and Best Pop Instrumental Performance for Short Circuit. And the project has sold 2.8 million copies globally. And what I can say about this record is I remember where I was as a kid when I not only heard One More Time, but I saw One More Time. Because if people don't remember, the video is based on this anime, Interstellar 5555. And when I was a kid, we were on vacation at a mall. And I want to say, do you remember Sam Goody's, Cole?
Yep.
I want to say I was walking by a Sam Goody and the One More Time video was playing. So I saw this anime of blue people and I'm hearing the auto-tune track or singing. And as a kid, I'm still very young. I was born in 1992. This album comes out in 2001. So what would that make me? 9? I was 9 and I was like, wait, music videos can just be anime? And it could be blue people? The person singing, their voice is allowed to sound like this for the entire, like it was, that sounds so stupid to like a 2025, like our sensibilities, because this is all music is now. But as a kid, music for so long to me is like a very linear thing. Like you brought up Bob Dylan with the electric guitar. People don't know an electric guitar is something that you can use and manipulate and can be the foundation of a genre until somebody fucking does it. And same thing, whether we're talking about sampling or auto-tune or vocoder. And this record to me, when I think about the music I love, whether it's 808s and Heartbreak, Future's Monster, a bunch of pop music. Just this to me is the foundation of that, of knowing that you can get so weird and you can use an instrument in the wrong way. And both members of Daft Punk talk about that a lot, making this record where there was this wave of critical backlash where critics were like, why are you using shit like this? This is not how music is supposed to sound. But as a kid, what they even said about this record, if I can pull it up, they said Tomas said to Remix Mag, this album has a lot to do with our childhood and the memories of the state we were in at that stage of our life. It's about our personal relationship to that time. It's less of a tribute to the music from 1975 to 1985 as an era, and more about focusing on the time when we were 0 to 10 years old. When you're a child, you don't judge or analyze music. You just like it because you like it. And when I read that, I almost started tearing up, because that was how this music, One More Time, Harder, Better, Faster, Stronger, Digital Love, that's what it felt like as a kid. I had no reference for Chicago House, for Romanthony, for anything that I was hearing. But the nostalgia of it, the kid-like wonder of it, the chops, it just connected with me in such a way, and it opened up just so much of my understanding. What's your relationship with Discovery like?
Yeah, I admittedly came onto Discovery and Daft Punk a little late. Of course, I knew One More Time and Around the World, and I'd seen the music videos and stuff, but it wasn't, that time, wasn't seeking it out. So I feel like, so much going back to the studying this album and the history behind it, it was kind of a slow burn. Like, they're still releasing singles like a few years after it comes out. Yeah. And it feels like it got bigger and bigger and bigger over the course of a couple of years. I feel like I don't remember it coming out, aside from One More Time just kind of being everywhere. But once I went down the rabbit hole, oh man, I mean, it was Radiohead, and then that just was great about both of these artists kind of putting electronic music in the forefront for people like me back then that didn't really have a gateway into it. It did give you that starting point. And through then you can start digging a little deeper into French house. Then you can start digging a little deeper into the Warp Records catalog and all those artists, And so it was definitely a gateway into electronic music. And then from there, I mean, in the same way Radiohead influenced, my band at the time, Daft Punk, I would say, I don't know, I can't really depict Discovery might be the most influential to me personally, but it was just more about Daft Punk, like just them, their sound, their approach, and I could pull up songs that sound exactly like Daft Punk that I made, in my early 20s, because I was just listening to it so much and I was studying how they were putting these songs together, because like musically they're so talented at one, like they're kind of Kanye in the way that like they just have a fucking great ear for samples. Like, yeah. It's just
not just the samples, how they chop the samples, how they will chop it 3-4 times and then stitch it back together. And when you see it done, like there's a lot of I'm sure you'll be showing us your favorites, but guys, I'm telling you, just go on YouTube, type in Daft Punk samples, and you will literally see some of the greatest chopping you've ever seen in recorded music.
And it's like, and to their credit though too, it's like one, they recognize catchy samples, and this is I think what contrasts them with the electronic music at the time, which was, industrial house music. It can get very like cold and kind of gritty and like hypnotic, and I love that stuff. But Daft Punk were so good at, especially with this record, purposefully grabbing samples that were like catchy, melodic, harmonically rich and warm, and maintaining that warmth with the chops in the same way Kanye does. Maintains the warmth of the soul sample, recontextualizes it with a hip hop beat. So Daft Punk were doing the same thing, taking disco samples, recontextualizing it with electronic drums. Yeah. But the warmth and just that feeling that you get, the addictive feeling that you just want to hear it. You want to hear one more time. You don't want it to stop. And they just create these loops that are like hooks. I was so obsessed with like how exactly they did that. How do they stack all these sounds together without it sounding chaotic, which again, electronic music, it's so easy to make chaos out of loops and layers and blips and effects. And it's like they maintain a purity, a crystallized, like singular sound that is just like, and it's mixed really well. So it's like not, even though like a song like Face to Face has like 70 samples, it's like it still feels like a pop record, which is like incredibly hard. We take it for granted. But the line that they're threading with this record, which is being technically brilliant virtuosos of electronic instruments and synths and programming. And a lot of times that can get ugly, just like a guitar solo, like we don't want to hear like a great guitarist masturbating just to get himself off. It's like, it's got to be musical still. And to their credit, they're masters at technical brilliance mixed with pop sensibilities, keeping everything accessible. Like, this record is just like, it's kind of like Kid A in terms of just like the music nerd like me, or even Kevin. I know Kevin really loves this record. It gives us so much to get our music nerd stuff off. But at the same time, my mom likes One More Time.
Yeah.
We can put on Harder, Better, Faster, Stronger. That becomes a number one hit with Kanye's sample, and that's for good reason, because like that essentially is a hook that Kanye then recontextualized. So it's like, I don't know, it's just like they're just so good at balancing that line, which I think is incredibly hard to do.
And I think it's funny, when I was listening to Kid A, you're like, Kid A is almost Radiohead surrendering to the fact that they don't need to rely so heavily on traditional song structure. And to me, Discovery is an electronic group finding the love in song structure, because to your point, like, this is a pop record to me. And when I mean a pop record, where it's like, it's not just when the guitar solos on Digital Love or Aerodynamic come in, they're not just masturbating to just show you they can shred on the guitar. It feels like it is taking you on a fucking journey. It is there for a reason. Harder, Better, Faster, Stronger is such a perfect pop artifact. And that's what I love of like the jump from Homework, which is an incredible record, to Discovery, is like them being like, all right, we're actually locking in and showing you that like electronic is not just the future, it's gonna be the present. But do you have some questions for me, some album trivia?
I do. I have a few questions. I had some backups in case you went crazy hard on me. So I'm gonna, since you
throw me a softball.
We should also remind listeners that this is building up to the season finale. So whoever has the most points, the accumulated points over the course of the season, gets a mystery prize that we haven't gotten any much hints on.
Justin has bought them. He told me off mic he's bought them already.
I have received them. I told Charles I'm not sure if they're good, but they are very funny to me.
Are they cursed? How cursed are they?
I think that they are both very cursed in very specific ways.
I'm so excited for this. Fuck yeah.
Okay.
All right.
Let's go. Question number 1. You're going to think it's easy, but then it gets a little twist. Question 1. Daft Punk claims they transformed into robots after a virus called the 9999 bug attacked their hardware. Quote, "We did not choose to become robots. There was an incident in our studio. We were working on our sampler, and at exactly 9:09 a.m. on September 9th, 1999, it exploded. When we regained consciousness, we discovered that we had become robots." I love this shit. Like this, and the story changes. Like there's like a few interviews that they mention this story, and it's always a little bit different, which I love it. In reality, the robot helmets were created by a special effects expert named Tony Gardner. Daft Punk were introduced to Gardner through a now famous film director. Do you know the famous film director who introduced Tony Gardner, the special effects person, to Daft Punk to create the helmets?
This is good. This is a good fucking question.
For a half-point reduction, I'll give you a hint.
No, because I think I want to say it's Gondry.
No, you're so close.
Oh, fuck, it's not?
It's not. You're so close.
Fuck, it's not.
Let's 1 degree away from Gondry, not Fridge. American.
Fuck, this is a really good question.
When Charles is going to give up, can I guess?
Do you want the hint?
Wait.
No, I don't want the hint.
Oh, no, Google search.
No, I'm not Google searching.
Laptop open right over him.
No. Spike Jonze.
Yes, but you just...
No. I literally typed in, and I could show you the history. I typed in her because I knew who I was, but I was just like, the name was not there. And I had to type in the first one. I was like, her, I was Spike Jonze. If it wasn't Gondry, it was Spike Jonze.
Okay.
What? Wait. You were like, oh, I definitely know this one, but you had to type in her to get the name?
Justin, I have been in fucking San Diego talking about comic books, and then in the fucking Poconos playing with monkeys and fucking pigs. My mind is soup. Her was the first movie, Spike Jonze movie I remembered. Relax.
Cole, do you feel okay with this?
I'll give him the point.
Hell yeah.
Should it be a half point?
Look,
You're the judge.
I am. I'm kind of considering playground rules on this. You call a foul if you want to foul. So,
Okay.
do you want you want to take half point away from him for that?
No, it's fine.
It's
Give it to
fine.
him.
Okay.
Hell yeah.
So question number 2 for you is, and anime related, in Discovery's companion anime film Interstellar 5555, an alien band is kidnapped from their planet and brought to Earth. Their minds are erased and they are programmed to be an American band that immediately becomes extremely popular. What is the name of this band in the film?
Crescendos?
Nice job.
Come
2 for
on.
2.
Come on. I don't even need a point on the next one. Just give me the last one. Come on, bro. I love Daft Punk.
All right. Okay. I think you're still in the lead by a hair in the tally. Overall season tally. Great job though. 2 for 2.
All right. We ready to get into the categories?
I'm so ready I'm so curious to know what you picked and see if it overlaps with my picks, because what's the best song on this? It's not clear.
Best song is actually, I have the one that I think I'm going to go with, but I might go to you and Justin if I have to change my mind. All right.
Okay.
So biggest song was easy. Lead single from Discovery, One More Time.
One more time.
The song features Romanthony and a sample of the 1979 song More Spell on You by Eddie Jones. Daft Punk considered this a bridge from their previous album Homework. They said Homework was a way to say to the rock kids that electronic music is cool, while Discovery was the opposite. It was a way of saying to the electronic kids, rock is cool, which I think is like, once you kind of unlock that, you're just like, the guitar solos make sense, the anime makes sense. And to their credit, like, Daft Punk had rock bona fides. Like, these are guys who can play their instruments. They know them very fucking well. And One More Time to me is something that before this episode, I took it for granted. And I don't know.
Exact same feeling. Continue.
Because I had heard it so much as a child. And then I don't know if you had this experience with listening to Kid A, where I'm like, okay, let me do the thing that I try to do, is like take away everything and just try to listen to this like you were an alien who just came here. And it reminded me of when I heard it as a child, where the vocals on this are so lush and it's like liquid, and it reminded me of hearing vocals tampered with in this way, because Tomas said to DJ Chimes, like, people were coming at them. I had forgotten, like, this had kind of gotten mixed reviews in terms of the whole album. And he said, quote, criticizing the vocoder is like asking bands in the 60s, why do you use an electric guitar? It's just a tool. The healthy thing is that people either loved it or hated it. At least people were not neutral. And to my kid brain, I thought that this was the coolest thing that I had ever heard. And I think, once again, we take for granted that at this point in the Daft Punk legend, this is only their second project. They're still new to the helmets. To your point, there's a lot of their origin story that they're like tweaking into the moment. And they're still new enough as a band where sometimes they're acting like they're the robots in interviews, and other times they're just themselves. They're just Tomas and whatchamacallit guy. But there was something about this song, kind of like hearing it, that it's so beautiful. The lyrics are so simple, and it, in the same way that Kid A puts you in a trance, one more time, it just puts you in a trance where it's undeniable, and you're almost like, okay, I'm transported back into this nostalgic feeling. I'm gonna go on this intergalactic ride with these weird fucking robots, and you surrender to it. And One More Time is actually a song where I write to this album a lot. Like, I put on this album when I just need to zone out. Usually I skip One More Time because I've just heard it too much. And One More Time was the song off this project where the last 2 or 3 weeks where I was like, oh, this was always genius. This was always a genius record. What is it about One More Time that you kind of like fell in love with again, Cole?
Yeah, it was the same exact experience. You know, it's just one of those songs that, you do take it for granted. You are kind of sick of hearing it. But I will say, even before this exercise, the true mark of this song is like when you hear it when you hear it at a club or
Yep.
it always works. It always works. I remember the dance club I used to go to in the early 2000s around this time. The DJ that we'd always go see, he would always close with this song every single time. We knew it was coming, and it fucking worked.
And yeah, I was going to ask, was there ever a time where it didn't work, or every single time people were like, hell yeah, still fucking rips?
Yeah, it's perfect. I mean, Justin, was this in your DJ repertoire? Is this something you went to, or was it too obvious by then?
What you have to consider is in the 2007, 2008, and this is like post the Pyramid performance, which I think will probably come up, right? Like Daft Punk has this rebirth or this rediscovery period that ends up kicking off the whole like hipster house movement, and like this song just stays in rotation. Daft Punk stays in rotation. And then Daft Punk gets even bigger in like 2013 with like more normie crowds, with, Random Access Memories and everything on that Pharrell song and everything. So this song, while it might have gotten tired to DJs at a certain point, just kept getting bigger and bigger and bigger with different kinds of audiences for basically my entire DJ career. I no longer DJ. I don't know if I go put it on, if you put me in front of turntables and I have to play it in the club right now, maybe they just start throwing cans of tomatoes at me. I don't know how it works. But up until at least like 2015, 2016, when I stepped out of the game, this song will still go off.
Yeah.
All right.
Do you want me to break down the sample really quick? Because this was another thing that like it's been broken down a lot. It won't take that long, but I think for anyone that hasn't heard the chops, it's a really good piece of evidence of just how like their ear for just specific chords and just like simple but like technically brilliant. So let me I'll play.
I will say this. If you weren't going to play it, I was like, yo, can we go in post and play it when I say what it samples? I'm ready, because literally I smoke a lot of weed. I was smoking weed and just watching Daft Punk sample videos where like the DJs would just like, I was just like watching the chops and I was mesmerized. Play it for the people. It's fucking genius.
Yeah, I will say like this whole exercise has got me thinking like, is Daft Punk the next season of Dissect? Like, wow, this
yes,
is so sick. Or even next season of Last Song Standing would be so fun. Okay. So like you said, original sample source is More Spell on You by Eddie Jones, 1979. What's interesting about this album, I looked through basically every sample that's on here, and it's like, with just like one or two exceptions, it is in every single sample is from 1975 to 1985. Like they were really true to that concept.
The nostalgia of when they were kids. This is what we were listening to. And I don't know if they were like fucking around. I read some shit where it's like a lot of their collaborators were like, one of their collaborators, I forget who, like actually like posted after a bunch of years, I found like the disc, the floppy with all my samples. But I was reading Daft Punk was saying that they replayed a lot of the samples. And I was just like, oh, interesting. So I'm just like, when I have more time, I want to do more research on like, what was an actual just sample and what did they actually like just replay and then sample what they replayed.
Yeah, it's hard to tell. And, and like you go on like who sampled and they'll give you the actual samples, but then there's so many little blips and like glitches that could be samples or could be them recreating samples. Like it's so unclear. That's part of the myth of this album. Is like, is the guitar solo, quote unquote, on Digital Love a guitar or a synth? Like it's not actually clear. I think it's a synth, but I think like it sounds so much like a guitar that there's debate on Reddit if it's a guitar or not. And there's just so much lore around the album, partly because they didn't explain it much. They didn't do much interviews. And so there is like, it's so technically brilliant that people
years for people to find all of the samples on Face to Face. Like that was going to, spoiler alert, was going to be like my best deep cut, but it can't because it was a single. But like, yeah, there were like years where people were debating where all of the samples were.
Yeah.
So all right, let's play this.
Yeah. All right, so here's the original. I'll just play it straight as it is on the vinyl. Okay. So good on its own, right? And it's like this really high, it's climbing. And so they just take 3 chords from that ascending chord sequence. Here's the 3 chords, and they pitch them down. So here's the first chord. Okay, so just those 3, exactly how they just kind of cut in and out is exactly how they're sampled. And so it's like, again, this is like, these are tools. Now, what do you do with the chops? Like, this is where the magic happens, right? It's not only identifying those 3 chords, anyone can do that. How do you put them together? How do you rearrange them? And here's how they do that. So they essentially take the second chord that they sample and they play that as the tonic. They play that as the first chord, and it's this 2-chord sequence that goes back and forth that has a really brilliant detail that I'm going to point out after I play the whole chord sequence. It's just like, because it's like, yeah, that was the loop. I played the loop, and then it transitions into the actual song, and you hear the filtering they put on it, and then of course the drum beat that they put behind it. But I did want to point out like one detail, because these are the kind of details that separate Daft Punk from everyone else in terms of like sampling, understanding what makes a good sample, what makes a good loop, is that the way that they sample the second chord in this loop here. So that chord, that second chord that just comes in for that one measure, or that one beat, it's not played on the downbeat. They sample a little bit before the chord hit, so that the chord hit happens on the upbeat. And so it's essentially just this little moment of syncopation. Let me play you the chord sequence without that little moment of syncopation on that second chord, and it'll instantly change how the loop feels. Can you hear the difference there?
Yeah.
On that last chord, if it's played just on the downbeat, it's not as rhythmic. It doesn't give you that kind of hypnotic sense of that loop. And then let me just play it back to back with the syncopation of that last chord. And it's just that one little detail that changes the entire kind of feeling of the entire groove. You hear the difference of that?
Yeah.
Yeah,
You're a genius, Cole. You're a genius.
Well, Daft Punk's a genius. Like that, it's just like that's again. It's just like there's millions of those little choices that they make. That this is what separates Daft Punk from everyone else. This is why they're the best.
Cole, I don't want to hijack this, but could you play that other one again?
The non-syncopated one.
Yeah, the one they didn't do.
Yeah.
No.
It sounds so wrong.
Right?
It sounds so wrong.
It's like feeling of just like a deflated balloon almost when you hear the other version, where I'm just like, oh, that's genius work.
Let me just tell you, 99 out of 100 producers do the non-syncopated version. Like, because that's where when you're getting chops, like you look for the start of a chord hit, because that's like, it keeps you on beat.
Yeah.
In the same way that that first chord, that's what gives you the groove, is because it's hitting the downbeat. And even if you're doing automated chops, like if you're asking the sampler to like identify the beats, it's always usually going to always give you the start of the beat, never halfway. So again, it's just like that, just literally like a half measure little tweak, or a half beat tweak, and it's like it makes the fucking loop. Like it makes the loop.
All right, guys. Now we have to talk about best song, and this is where I might need some help.
Okay.
Because I could make the argument that Discovery has like the best first 5 song run of almost any album. Like One More Time, Aerodynamic, Digital Love, Harder, Better, Faster, Stronger, Crescendos is fucking insane. It is like
shocking.
Like think about that's to me in the category of like when you look at Thriller. Like Thriller is wanna be starting something, Baby Be Mine, The Girl Is Mine, Thriller is like, and then you have Beat It. It's just you're like, oh fucking shit. So me having to pick it was gonna be between Digital Love was in the running. Digital Love, like at any given time, I think is my favorite song off this album.
Okay.
Aerodynamic or Harder, Better, Faster, Stronger.
See, it might be your deep cut, but like my best song out of this exercise was Face to Face.
I wanted to pick Face to Face in deep cut, but I can't because it is not a deep cut.
It's so good though. We have to talk about it.
We are going to talk about Face to Face.
Yeah.
Now,
Justin, do you have a clear?
Do you have a clear best song? My heart wants to say Digital Love, but I don't want to go with my heart because I want to win this exercise.
It's not. Yeah, I mean, look, I have to say that every time I put on this record and another song comes on, I think that the next song is maybe the best song I've ever heard.
Yeah.
And then the next song is maybe the best song I've ever heard. Like, Something About Us is not going to get picked in this category, but when Something About Us is on, like, you're thinking that might be one of the best songs you could ever possibly listen to.
Before I pick, I'm gonna I want to talk to Cole about something because can we decide what guitar solo do you like more, Aerodynamic or Digital Love? Because I'm an Aerodynamic boy, but Digital Love's guitar solo, they're both so fucking good.
What I love about Digital Love, like to me, the moment I picked out in How to Disappear Completely, the strings and all that, like Digital Love guitar synth solo, whatever you want to call it, is just as euphoric. That is the best moment on the entire album to me by fucking a mile. That is transcendent in a way that is so rare to reach in pop music. And it's unexpected because you're not ever expecting a guitar in quotes solo and not that good on a Daft Punk record. Yeah. It's like it functions like a legit guitar solo, even though it's like on a song that shouldn't really have a guitar solo. It's kind of like the Kanye Devil in a New Dress, where it's like only Daft Punk would think to put a synth guitar solo on this kind of a ballad and just transcend it, take it to a whole nother dimension, like SpongeBob fucking transcendent me. Like I mean, in my heart, Digital Love, just that moment alone edges it out over anything else. Although I will say, if you're trying to debate between that or Harder, Better, Faster, Stronger, the talk box solo, I can just play it for you. The talk box solo on Harder, Better, Faster, Stronger is fucking phenomenal.
All right, before we talk about that, let's play a little bit of the guitar solo from Digital Love. Can you play that for us really, really quick? Yeah, because I just need to hear it.
I'm gonna learn this. I didn't have enough time to learn it, but I'm definitely learning this solo. It's so good. Let me pick it out real quick. It's so good.
Can you play a little bit of Aerodynamic? I'm so stuck between these three.
Those parts do not make sense together.
They don't.
They don't make. I mean, it's like a live DJ mix on the actual song, and it's like it's perfect. Like it's so perfect.
All right, they're perfect. I'm so sorry, guys. I'm not gonna like in my heart. I think if I had like gun to my head, it would probably be Digital Love. Digital Love actually makes me cry sometimes in terms of just like what I love in music. In my heart, I would probably pick Digital Love. I think just for the culture, One More Time and Harder, Better, Faster, Stronger are two sides of the same coin in terms of like, I think because of the Kanye song, I think because of the resurgence that Harder, Better, Faster, Stronger has, we take it for granted. But in terms of just like I can like listen to Harder, Better, Faster, Stronger and be like, all right, 90% of pop music sounds like this. We take it for granted. There's a reason why Kanye fucking sampled it. I think the sample that this is based on, 1979's Cola Bottle Baby by Edwin Birdsong. Do you have it up for like, if people hear the sample of this, I'm just like, oh, when you were talking about the warmth of the samples that they were picking in terms of like this genre of, I believe Tomas was talking about what was interesting about this record is like they're taking samples from when disco was not at its height anymore, when it was almost on its way out. And they were in love with Chicago house and talking about like going back to that feeling of when they didn't, like these creators and these house producers did not have a lot to work with, and the innovation that comes through that. And honestly, we could put this in post. If we could play a little bit of Cola Bottle Baby just to show you just like how genius these guys are making this type of music.
Yeah, it's interesting because the loop is pretty much verbatim. It's except for speeding it up a little bit. But then how they develop the song with the vocal chord, so
how it like not crescendo, but like how they develop it in terms of just like then they add the talk box, then they add like the talk box solo, fucking incredible.
I got it queued up. You want to hear it?
I want to hear it. Play it.
Okay.
And then the breakdown at
that's so good.
Because once again, because I feel like the Kanye Stronger is so at the forefront of my mind. Sometimes, once again, I skip past Harder, Better, Faster, Stronger, that I forget about the talk box solo. I forget about the breakdown. I forget about how they are using just a simple loop, and almost like for other producers, they would probably be like, this is too many elements. This is very like once you take the loop, once you take the lyrics and the performance, and then you take the process vocals, and then you're breaking it down and rebuilding it back up. This is a very complex song, but it works when it hits your ears, it's so simple. I wrote down in my notes, I'm like, something about the talk box cuts through your ears like fucking butter. It's like so smooth. I love Harder, Better, Faster, Stronger. I'm going to pick it for best song, even though I want to pick Digital Love. I'm going to super skate by worst song. Like I had it written down, like this is like choosing this is like killing off one of my kids. I think I'm going to go with Night Vision. And not because Night Vision is bad, it's just more so like a transition record to me. And it's just coming off the high of those first couple songs. It is not a bad song. Do not attack me if you love Night Vision.
It is okay. It is the perfect. I get why you're picking it because it's kind of it's a technicality essentially, but I don't think the sequence of Harder, Better, Faster, Stronger, Crescendos Dolls, which is fucking phenomenal. I want to point something out about that song when we get to Deep Cut. That song is so high energy, and essentially like you need Night Vision in the sequence of the album. You like absolutely need it in the same way the interludes on Kid A you need. Like after National Anthem, after there's songs on the album where you actually need a breather. You need those interludes. If this is a world they're creating and the sequencing is just as important as the individual song to the experience of the record, they can't take Night Vision out of the record.
Crescendos into superheroes without the gap of Night Vision, because like both of those are very not intense, but they are like very high octane. Like, oh my God, like you feel the adrenaline. Night Vision does give you a very, very like clean segue. And that is before I get to my best deep cut, let's use this time to like talk about what couldn't make it. The first, Aerodynamic, we already talked about. That is the second song. It's a single. I couldn't choose that. Now, Face to Face is the 13th song, but it is also a single. And I think if we can even have 2 or 3 minutes to talk about Face to Face as a song, like this is actually what I wanted to pick in Deep Cut, but I just, according to our rules, even though you cheated with Idiotech, I can't pick Face to Face, but this was actually going to be my clip.
You could pick it. I bent the rules if you want.
All right, it's Face to fucking Face. Face to fucking Face is so fucking good. The amount, I think how many samples are on this song? Like,
I kept reading different stories. It's one of the. I actually don't want to name a number because it could be anywhere from like 40 to 70 from what I
couldn't get a clear number, but there's a video online where it's just like they play each sample, and it's like, Cole, if we want to play just like a few of them and then play the song, it is a level of where if Radiohead was searching and learning how to reform, quote unquote, a rock song with all these new instruments, Face to Face to me is just like a perfect example of how electronic musicians and producers and DJs think about music differently and how they can use chopping and use sampling and reconstitute something into I think Face to Face is one of the greatest songs and greatest accomplishments of the 21st century. I cannot gush about this song enough. Why do you love it so much, Cole?
It's like, maybe the one song that shows that balance that I'm talking about with them, which is like, this is a technical masterpiece. It is a masterwork of, if you want to know, like virtuosic, what does it mean to be a virtuoso of electronic music, which is a little more abstract than like, guitar. You can watch a player just fucking shred and you get it. It's like, I see the visual of like your fingers moving really fast. What is the equivalent of that in electronic music? Well, it's this fucking song, because the amount of, I'll dissect a little bit of the chops that they do, but it's like, there is the ear for sampling, the technical ability to know how to chop it, how to affect it correctly, and then to assemble, let's say 40 to 70, let's just say 40 different sample clips into a mosaic that makes sense, that still registers as a pop song. That is one of the hardest things you can do in music, is like that much technical mumbo jumbo, like, again, masturbatory stuff doesn't always make the most palatable music that you want to hear. Yet this song does both brilliantly.
You know
you want to hear the song.
Who's a producer who does something similar? Do you remember when Girl Talk first started popping? Where I actually like Girl Talk as a producer, like a very talented producer. But to your point, a lot of his early music doesn't achieve what Face to Face does, where it's like almost it was showing you, it was a showy version of this, of picking like 20, 30, 40 fucking songs, and you can tell. Where Face to Face to me is like, if you're not concentrating it just like, you sometimes won't even notice that they've introduced another sample into it.
Right. Yeah. Okay. So what I love about this song too is that Todd Edwards is a co-producer on the song, and Todd Edwards is kind of the architect of this style. Let me just play you a quick clip of a Todd Edwards song from 1996. So this is, predates Discovery by 5 years or so, and you'll hear the same kind of like small sample chops assembled into like a melody, essentially. So let me just play a small clip of that. Right, so you hear the really small half a second chops, and then assembled into a mosaic. Not quite as catchy, but you can still see the foundation of what they end up doing on Face to Face. They bring in Todd Edwards for this song, and they do a similar thing.
And I think they tried to get him on Homework, didn't they? Like earlier, they were trying to collaborate with them, and it wasn't until this record where and I think Romanthony might have been a similar thing, where it was they weren't established enough yet. And
Yeah.
by the second record, they are literally bringing in the people that they had like name dropped on teachers to like come
Exactly.
help them with this transformational project.
Yeah, so let me just run through. I picked just a few samples, and I didn't do these chops myself. I'll link the video that I shared to you that goes through every single chop on the song. But the foundation, the really traditional sample is the electric light orchestra sample. That let me just play it right here. So that little daga 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 da. They take that moment here, so let's play that here. So that's the traditional kind of foundation. It's a longer sample, it's rhythmic, you can kind of define the beats there. And so that becomes the foundation, but then this is where they start to get crazy. So I have two examples, but then we're going to just use our imagination in terms of like they did what I'm about to do with these two sample examples like 40 different times. So here is a sample of Carrie Lewis, Sometimes Love Goes Wrong from 1982. Okay, so from this sample, here's what they took from it. That's it. Let me play it one more time. That's all. Same thing with this next one. So Rocky Robbins, 1981, Nothing Like Love. Okay, here's what they sample from it. That's all. And so use your imagination, times this by 20, 40 times. All these little bloop, boop, boop become assembled into a mosaic that ends up sounding like this. It's like when you're listening to that, you don't register 40 samples, 40 different songs all spliced together. It's just a fucking great groove. And then when you dissect it, it's like, Jesus, like, how did they do this? It's like a masterwork. And so, but here's a really interesting theory I need to just lay out for you quickly that I don't know if I buy and I want your opinion on. So are you aware that the vocal samples for that main loop we just heard actually might say something that actually might have lyrics in them?
Yes.
Oh, you have heard this theory?
I haven't heard this theory, but like when I listen to it, I've never been able to locate what they're saying. Like I've never looked up the lyrics. I'm just like, it's a Daft Punk song. But it's something like, dun, 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 it's the love on, or something like that. Like
yeah, okay. So you're picking up on the melody.
Yes.
So I'm going to isolate each of the vocal chops, and then I'm going to tell you what I think they say, what the theory is, what they say. And then when you hear it in context in the actual song, once I heard the lyrics like that are supposed to be implied, I can't unhear it now. And it's really fucking cool. So, okay. So here's the first vocal chop comes from an Alan Parsons song from the 70s.
We'll find a way to run.
So just that little chop is the first vocal chop. Here's the second one from another Alan Parsons song from the 70s.
Right through me, song.
So here's what he grabs from that. So that's the one you're identifying. That's the most recognizable one. So those two chops together, when you combine them, how they hear in the song sound like this. So that's one lyric. It doesn't sound like a lyric yet, but stay with me here. Next sample chop's the most recognizable one. So here is a Kenny Loggins song. Shout out Kenny Loggins from 1971, House of Pooh Corner.
Back to the days of Christopher Robin and Pooh.
Okay, here comes the chop from that.
Christopher Robin.
And a second chop.
Christopher.
Okay, does that sound like anything to you yet?
No.
Okay.
Not yet.
Here's the last chop. Electric Light Orchestra again, 1971. Okay, here's the chop that comes from that. Okay, doesn't sound like lyrics yet, right?
Not yet.
Okay. Here's all the vocal chops lined up together. sound like lyrics yet?
Yes, starting to. I can't parse out what it is, but it's yes.
Okay, so the theory is that it's the what is being implied. Obviously, this would be Daft Punk kind of mutating these samples that don't say these words in a way that we now register that they say these words. So the theory is that it's the whole sequence is you are face to face now with me. So listen with that in mind. You are. You can kind of hear it. Just wait when you hear it in context, but I'm going to isolate it one more time. You are face to face now. One more time. Face to face now. Now with me. Still sounds like a reach, but now in your mind, follow these samples in the context of the song and think about you are face to face now with me.
I'm going to be honest, Cole. This is one of my favorite dissections that I've ever been privy to. This is number one. I hear it. I have been fucking dissected. Somebody get the HBO Max app, put on the pit. Motherfucker, it's a surgery room up in this bitch. Yes. This is why I love doing this show. Hell yeah.
I was like, is this a thing? And then I did I isolated them. I'm like,
fuck
can
yes.
I hear it now?
Hell yes.
And then the actual vocalist comes in singing about face to face. I'm like, are they that good? And then you listen to the rest of the album, you listen to the guitar solo on Digital Love. Yeah, they are fucking that good. Like, I'm not putting it past them that this was intentional.
Because we've been going long, so I'm gonna rush through best moment. Justin, do not get mad at me. I did not pick the pyramid because I felt like
it's too many years later.
It's 2006.
Right. It's too many years later. That's fine.
I watched the full set the other night. I was like, once I turned it on, I like could not turn it off. I was like, this is fucking fantastic.
Like mind melting, face melting, like amazing.
Yeah.
People have been jacking that performance for fucking years.
Look at so much. What I realized too was like how much Kanye was influenced by Daft Punk. That because all his stage shows after Daft Punk's Pyramid, that's when he really starts to take his stage shows.
Glow in the Dark, Yeezus, yes, it is. You can
like Yeezus, the Mountain is to me like exactly like kind of like a nod to the Pyramid.
Same thing with the mask that he wore. Like there's a lot of like Daft Punk, but then again, it's the beauty of like Daft Punk is super influenced by Chicago house, and then this kid growing up in Chicago who's in love with sampling is sampling in a different way, but like you could see the spiritual connection between these French. And similarly, my best moment is Interstellar 5555, the story of the secret star system, because like we said, the theme of this album, the loose theme, is going back to Daft Punk's childhood. And one thing that people might not be aware of is in America, when Americans are like, I'm into anime, 9 times out of 10, they're into Dragon Ball Z and fucking Naruto. When you go to France, what you have to understand is the connection between the French and the Japanese is very, very strong. They love manga. They love anime. Their animation, French animation, I'm talking about hand-drawn animation, is still a thing. They are a society that loves aesthetics and loves supporting the arts. And I think it's so cool that on their you have to think about this, on their second album,
right?
They're like, oh, we want to make a live action movie. I'm like, this is your sophomore album. You are not making a live action movie. So what do they decide to do? They settle for making a fucking anime. They are influenced heavily by, I'm going to butcher his name, Leiji Matsumoto. They said to Toonami, quote, we have always been great fans of animation since we were kids. At around the age of 5 years old, we would watch Captain Harlock. The show was made by Matsumoto, who we are working with 20 years later. So we're finally working working with a big source of our inspiration. The music we have been making must have been influenced at some point by the shows we were watching when we were little kids. And what I enjoy about that quote is that there is not just aesthetically in terms of the robot heads, the blowing up, that lore, but when you do listen to Discovery especially, I think a lot of the kinetic, childlike wonder, all of the inspirations to me is the feeling of watching 80s anime. It was very funny. In the interview, in the Toonami interview, the person asked them, like, well, what new anime do you like? They're like, Evangelion and Ghost of the Shell is cool, but nah, we like that old shit. And as a kid, when I talked about that day when I was walking past that Sam Goody and I saw the video for One More Time, it was, it's just like one of those things, those neurons that as a kid fires on where it sold the music to me. Like the fact that when I was rewatching the movie last night and I had forgot, I'm like, oh, there's no words in this movie. It's all just music. I'm just like, these are just music videos that have like a light kind of like narrative, but the music is so good, you don't care. You don't need words. When you were talking about Radiohead being so good at scoring and the emotions, I think Daft Punk is a similar way. And Interstellar 5555, if you haven't watched it, like one day when you're at the crib, just put it on while you're doing dishes, while you're doing chores. It is something where like every scene you'll like stop a little bit and you're like, wait, what the fuck is going on? So to recap, my biggest song was One More Time. My best song was Harder, Better, Faster, Stronger. Worst song, Night Vision. Best deep cut, Face to Face. Best moment, the anime, Interstellar 5555. Can you go down your categories?
Yeah. Biggest song. Can we just skip the head-to-head? This is
going to be really tough.
Writing this. Okay, so biggest song, Everything in Its Right Place. Best song, How to Disappear Completely. Worst song, what did I pick? In Limbo. Best deep cut, Idiotech. And best moment, SNL, National Anthem on SNL stage.
All right, so let's take a little bit of a break. And when we get back, unfortunately, we're going head to head, and this is going to be very, very difficult. All right, we are back with the head to head. This is when both Cole and I pit our 5 categories against each other to see which album will be crowned and taken into the Royal Rumble. I want to do something a little bit different this time. How about we go to the categories that are super easy first, and then we will go to the ones that are a little bit more difficult. I think biggest song is probably a pretty easy category. I would say One More Time is. If
we're doing just the technicality, what was the bigger song and just literally what's the biggest song? Yeah, I just have to.
You can argue. You can argue. I would say One More Time is still something where if I walk out of this door and hear it, I would not be surprised. I'm just like, people play that song ad nauseum.
Yeah, it's the biggest song. It's definitely the biggest song. Do I think it's the best song? No, I think Everything in Its Right Place is far superior, and I love. It's two different worlds, but just to save us time, like I'm not going to argue that it's a bigger song. I think you can argue maybe it's a more important song just symbolically because of the historical stuff that I pointed out, but that's more Kid A, the album itself, not necessarily that song, although that song kicks off it's inseparable in my mind. But I'll just stay true to the category to make it easy. I'll concede that, One More Time is the bigger song.
All right, so for best moment, we have Interstellar 5555 versus the SNL performance. I think this is also pretty easy. Those videos are iconic. Like that.
Are they though?
What? Are we being serious, Cole? You can't even find your performance on fucking YouTube. Let me.
Well, that's okay. This. Okay, so you had an archival piece that was like a legit thing that sustained. Like I'm working with like scraps here, like because I think that was a moment in time. It's just not documented. So because I can also bring up the fact that at Kid A they streamed it on websites before streaming was a thing. I could bring up the fact that they What? You didn't?
Oh,
why
first
you
of
look at
all,
me like that?
Daft Punk had Daft Club, where literally they were sending out cards that you could literally like type in and get different remixes and
So sick.
Like, so sick. So you can't use that either. I will just say the video for One More Time, which is taken from this movie, has 569 million fucking views. Harder, Better, Faster, Stronger has 152 million views. Like this, like.
Okay, but here's the thing with Kid A. The Kid A was the moment. Like picking a best moment, the album was the moment. It's a turning point in the history of music.
And I would argue Daft Punk's discovery and the videos and the visuals, where it's like, if I had to ask people who is the more iconic group, they would 100 times out of 100 say it is Daft Punk. Even if you don't listen to Daft Punk, if you point...
What are you talking about? What's your definition of iconic,
When
though?
you point at those two helmets,
guys in helmets,
you're like, that's Daft Punk. When you see the little...
When you point at Tom York's Lazy Eye,
I will ask Justin. Justin, do you think more people can recognize the Daft Punk robot helmets or Tom York?
Oh God.
Well, I mean, it's clear that helmets are more iconic, but like Radiohead was anti-image. Like
Trina is not fucking with this.
Trina's got thoughts.
My girl, I love Trina so much.
Is this what you envisioned when we set up the studio today?
It's beautiful.
All right.
Sorry, Radiohead's a more iconic band.
Yes.
What?
I'm not saying you're gonna win. Who's gonna win? I'm just saying that Radiohead's a more iconic band.
This is
I think that's 100% true. I love Daft Punk, but
to who? To who? All right. If we go back to best moment, yours is an SNL performance. Mine is an entire movie that is.
I thought this was the easy one.
Interstellar 5555 is an iconic piece of pop culture.
Let's move on. Let's just put a pin in it. Let's keep going.
Okay. Where do we want to go? Worst song?
I think that should just be a wash. I'm not going to argue.
Yeah, that's a tie. We both also picked like songs that are not bad, but are very much just like transitional.
Yeah.
All right.
Okay, so best song versus best song. How to Disappear Completely, masterpiece of the 21st century versus Harder, Bigger, Faster, Stronger.
Harder, Better, Faster, Stronger to me is...
It's really not, though.
It's
not even the best. It's not even the best song on the album.
It is a more important song.
If you pick Digital Love or Face to Face, I think you'd have a stronger case. I thought it was a strategic misstep to pick Harder, Better, Faster, Stronger. As much as I like the song, it's not even in my top 5 on this record, on this album.
Yes, but we are using, and sometimes I think as like music critics and music fans, we can get very, very in the weeds. But Harder, Better, Faster, Stronger is such an important artifact of the 21st century. If this song disappears, so much music is erased. It is like the Back to Future shit, where it's just like, if we never hear Harder, Better, Faster, Stronger, there are so many rappers, so many pop stars, so many electronic artists that are no longer the same. And I love Radiohead, but I don't think that this is a contest. I literally think Harder, Better, Faster, Stronger is just, yes, is it cool to be like, we're picking the pop hit? No. But sometimes you just have to be like, yo, this song is like an earthquake. And when you still put it on, you can put it on for a baby, you can put it on for an 80-year-old, and you do not have to explain any of it. They will understand why this.
How to just like, to use your own point against you, How to Disappear completely articulates a feeling of alienation in the world.
Yes.
It foreshadows this isolation, alienation of a nation, of us as people, as in a technology age. It's the birth point of one of the greatest musical kind of orchestrators, film scores that we have in Johnny Greenwood. This is his birth moment of that side of his career. Starts here. It's the origin point. It's technically brilliant. It's a perfect song. It's a
if you had
perfect
picked
song.
Idiotech, I would have been more on your side, because that's easily the best song off Kid A. Harder, Better, Faster, Stronger is just like, yo, what the fuck are we doing? Sometimes a fucking Big Mac is a Big Mac, and like you just have to respect it.
But you just conceded it was not even a top 5 on the album.
Yeah, but we're having different conversations. I'm talking about a song that is so seismic that it is just like, hey, I have to like go back to when I was 9 years old, hearing Harder, Better, Faster, Stronger. And it's just like everything from the sample to the talk box little like vocoder fucking outro. Everything about this song is like this is a 10-10. You can.
We're gonna have to call Justin in. We have to call Justin in because I'm not conceding.
Is this gonna be? Is this the rest of the season? Is the rest of the season me having to make ahead the?
I think this is gonna be the most contentious. I think this is easily the most.
Do you think this is more contentious than what we went through with Beyonce and Jay?
I still got cheated. I still got cheated. Like there's also a level of like, I get it as music critics. Sometimes we like the narrative of the album. We like all of this other shit. But sometimes we do need to go back to when we were cavemen and just be like, when you put on a record, does it make you move your feet? Is there something soul where you don't have to explain it? When you hear it on a dance floor, you just want to dance. It is literally a net positive to the world. And I think Harder, Better, Faster, Stronger is that song.
But I conceded biggest song with One More Time. We're talking
you can't concede. One More Time is a way huger size, way bigger.
But you're now using Harder, Bigger, Faster, Stronger, the mass appeal of it.
No. I'm not even using. I'm using what I think that we underrate as music critics, where it's just like we like songs that have like this quote unquote quote depth, where it's just like, oh, they're doing all of this shit in it, and I'm like, no. When you play this on a dance floor, is there something so primal about the beat, about the way it hits your ears and your heart?
Say the same. You could say the same thing for How to Disappear Completely. You put that song on in headphones in the dark and think about your life and existence, and it's like it'll take you places that only music that good can, and it'll make you reflect. It taps into just like what it is to be human, about how existence is, we're just so alone despite being so together and so connected. Like it taps into exactly what it feels like to be human. The loneliness we all feel deep, deep, deep down inside, no matter how many friends we have, how many loved ones we have around us. This song taps into the loneliness of life.
Cole, that was fucking beautiful. However, only one of these songs had the white girls in the video on YouTube writing the Sharpie on their hands and doing all the... I'm actually... both of you guys, the problem with this is you've been doing this for too long and you're both turning into excellent debaters. And you're not willing to concede the point because you want to win the debate even if you know deep down you might be wrong. So I guess I gotta actually come in on this one.
You do.
Charles has this one. I'm sorry.
Hell fucking yeah.
All right, I'm not even going to fight. Let's move on.
Best deep cut. All right, we can make this easy. I love Face to Face. I love Face to Face. Idiotech is so fucking good, bro.
If you would have gave me the last one, I would have given you this one, but I'm not conceding three times.
Wait. Do you like Face to Face more than Idiotech?
No, I like Idiotech more.
I like Idiotech more. Even though Face to Face, like, it's like, to me, like, both of these are 100 out of 100.
Yeah.
But Idiotech is just like, oh.
Yeah. It has a dimension that as much as I gushed about Face to Face, Idiotech has just a little bit more of the emotional resonance to me, even though it's by a fucking hair, though, I think. So
right now, I have One More Time, Harder, Better, Faster, Stronger. We said Worst Song is a wash. You have Best Deep Cut, and we are torn on Best Moment. I think it's crazy that you're trying to convince me that an SNL performance that most people cannot even see was a bigger cultural moment than a video that literally changed the face of music.
But I could just... No.
What?
I could have just said Kid A, the album.
No, you can't, because I could just say moment. Discovery, the album.
No. Cole has a point on this one. Cole really has a point.
It really was, yeah. Like, Discovery came out and it was like It just like, you cannot overstate Radiohead going from a rock band of OK Computer, having the weight of rock music history on their shoulders and pivoting. That is a Bob Dylan goes electric moment. It is a crystallization in music history. Like, it is a fucking moment. Like,
no. I'm not saying that it isn't. I'm not saying that it isn't. What I'm arguing is that even if in the moment radio, like, all of that is true, Discovery to me just like, as the years progress, like, I couldn't pick the Coachella performance. You know what I'm saying? I can't pick Kanye sampling Harder, Better, Faster, Stronger. I can't pick just like, when I was in college, how much of the EDM wave was just motherfuckers reheating fucking Daft Punk's Nachos. Like, I can't pick any of that. Like, when you look at, like, motherfuckers are still gonna argue with you, like, what the best Radiohead album is. When you put on Discovery, motherfuckers is just like, hey, yo, man, like, Random Man's Access Memories is good, Human After All is good, but, like, fucking Discovery is the one. Bro, like, what?
No, Random Access Memories, I actually think has a bigger crowd for being their best album. Like, that record is beloved.
I know it's beloved, but also, like, let's be. Like,
Pitchfork also rescored that in the opposite direction.
Oh, really?
I think, and I love Random Access Memories. I think it is a phenomenal album. We gotta relax. Like, I think Random Access Memories is in the Lemonade position for me, where I'm just like, come on, y'all. Like, it's just like, y'all are letting fucking recency bias kick y'all ass. Like, relax.
I would say to those people, if they haven't returned to Discovery, I think Discovery is the better record.
Let's just, you know what? Let's just get to the meat and potatoes. Are we picking Discovery
all the time?
Are we picking Discovery or Kid A?
I really cannot do this. I can't concede. Like, I just can't concede. But I also, like, can't argue that hard against Discovery. Like, this is just a torturous pairing that I feel like both should be nominated to the finale. Should we have our first draw, Justin, or do we have to decide?
They're going to have to be eliminated at some point. I said this to you about another pairing that actually isn't going to end up happening later in the season, but sometimes the Bills and the Chiefs have to play in the AFC Championship game for the right to go to the Super Bowl. Yeah. Maybe not the best metaphor, considering the Chiefs played the Bills and then got their ass kicked in the Super Bowl, but you get the point.
Yeah.
You got to pick one.
I think. Well, Justin, what would your opinion? Because you're trusted. We really respect your opinion. You know what you're talking about. You've been a music journalist for a very, very long time. You follow all of this stuff, so we'd at least weigh in. Maybe you don't have to make the decision, but try to sway us one way or the other.
See, I'm a little inclined to kind of split the difference and kind of talk out of both sides of my mouth on this one, because here's what I believe about these two albums. I believe that, and I want to stress, we're not doing what's the most important album, because we could have had that discussion with Take Care versus My Beautiful Dark Twisted Fantasy, and it could have gone in the wrong direction.
I mean, we damn near had that fucking conversation with Lemonade and Lemonade's Beyonce and Jay-Z's Blueprint, because I won. Okay. Right. If we want to be real.
So this is not my vote, but I think Kid A, in the moment upon release, was definitely the more important album. And I think it kind of stands as this really like monolithic thing at the beginning of the century. I think that Discovery was something of a little bit more of a slow discovery. Forgive me for repeating the name of the album, but I think it was kind of a slower discovery for a lot of people. We're not picking most important album. We're not picking the one that had the biggest impact on upon release. We're also not picking the, I guess, most like cohesive album, because if we were doing that, like just listening to the way that Kid A was structured feels that like it's just these songs, the way they weave in and out of each other, the way the pieces all fit together, everything in its right place, not the song, the right description of it. But goddamn, I've been listening to both these albums for a week, and Jesus fucking Christ, if it isn't when every time I put on Discovery, I'm like, this is the one. For me personally, I'm not making the decision. You guys have to do this.
Hold on. You know who loves both of these records equally? Is Kevin still here?
Kevin's here. What's up?
Okay, Kevin, can you quickly weigh in on if you were forced to choose, which one of these would you choose? I'll also preface this with Kevin is the most brilliant electronic musician I've ever met. He has a collection of vintage synthesizers. I think he's equally influenced by both Radiohead and Daft Punk, so he knows what he's talking about, like 100% in this.
Well, thanks for the vote of confidence. Yes, I'm a big synth nerd for sure. Fan of electronic music since I think 1990.
Hell yeah.
Yeah, Homework definitely changed my life, influenced my whole like music career. But I think all in all, if I had to choose, I think Kid A single-handedly reinvented digital music. So I'm just going to say that.
Yes.
Now, if I can be honest,
I also think they pioneered internet distribution. They kind of took like, here's an approach to writing music, like rock traditionally is written like this, and they reinvented that whole process as well.
I got to actually go. I got to take my daughter to gymnastics right now. She's going to be late, so I can't concede. I can't concede.
So. If we don't pick Discovery, y'all, Daft Punk, like what? What? Digital Love? Digital Love.
Everything in its right place.
Digital Love, aerodynamic, harder, better, faster, stronger, one more time. Like, what? This ain't the 1990s, y'all. This is the fucking 2025, and Daft Punk is one of the most important fucking duos. I get Radiohead is also important. I get that. But it's Daft fucking Punk.
It's just we're talking in circles because like you can replace everything I'm saying with Radiohead with Daft Punk, and I can replace everything you're saying with Radiohead. They're just on parallel. They're just parallel artists in this way, and it's the same exact era. They're pointing in the same direction. These are the guys that together, the trajectory is just never the same, and they're the ones that.
Do we just fail this episode and just leave it to the fans?
Oh, that's interesting.
This is fucking insane. Okay, I you know what? This is a fun experiment. Let the fans decide this one. I know where this is going to end up. I know where this is going to end up.
Maybe we should also do.
I think people are going to pick Kid A. I think most people are going to pick Kid A.
Same.
Even though it's just it's. You know what? It's fine.
I actually like this. I love this.
Of course, this is your home crowd. This is your home crowd, so they're going to pick Kid A. Now, if we go to the streets,
I don't think so. Actually,
I think if we went to the streets, a lot of people would be like, "I can't." Like, come on.
But don't sell yourself short. Yeah, I actually think Daft Punk has a legitimate chance. Just the real ones know. The real ones know what's right here. Charles, all right, we're leaving on a cliffhanger. This was my favorite episode we've ever done. I think
I could continue talking about these people.
I know this could have been 3 hours. Yeah, beautiful. All right, we'll see you next week with the results.
Good luck at gymnastics practice.
Hell yeah.
Trina might have a few more things to say next episode, so I think this is a great episode. Also, maybe our most chaotic one.
Yeah.
Hell yeah.
Beautiful.